Hey, this week we're talking about fasting, and what's got to be one of the things that, I don't know, maybe for you it's high on the list. It has not been high on my list, although as I examined fasting more closely, it is an amazing discipline, spiritual practice, habit, and I have actually come to realize that I fast quite often. Um, but it's one of those things that when we do it, Jesus literally has said, no one should know you're doing it in Matthew, in the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus tells us the importance of fasting. He says, um, when you pray, we should be definitely praying. When you give, we should definitely be giving. And when you fast, those three spiritual practices, Jesus mentions not if, but when you do it. And in all cases, to do it not trying to seek others' awareness, but trying to build your own awareness of a deeper connection to God and His purposes. So we're going to be unpacking that throughout this week. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about making fasting a greater intentional practice of my own. Have been trying to kind of incorporate that into my weekly rhythm, and hope you will as well, because it really is a habit that bolsters us and strengthens us in our resolve to be like Christ. When we think about all the spiritual practices, we are not trying to kind of randomly pick things from the world of options, but we're trying to say, what did Jesus do, and how and why would I want to do those in order to follow Him, right? If He did it and I'm following Him, then it would make sense that I also would do it. Jesus fasted, so it would make sense that as a follower of Jesus, seeking to emulate Him, I also would fast. We've incorporated a little statement in our I am a disciple focus. So if you've been around Yosemite for any time, you know that we encourage you to recognize there's 5 points of identity, kind of identity alignment, that when I align myself to what God says about me and about who I am, when I align myself with those points of identity, it's going to draw me into my relationship with Jesus and refine it. And then I focus on those. So there's I am loved, I am loving, I am a disciple, I'm a mentor, I'm a missionary. Those 5 I am statements about who am I in my true spiritual identity. Under the I am a disciple, there is a little statement. And the statement really is a very broad swath of spiritual formation and spiritual practices. Kind of 3 big headings. If you've been around, you know that we talk about connecting with God, growing with others, and using our talent, time, and tithe to serve. So all 3 of those areas would be areas of spiritual focus and attention. Focus vertically on my relationship with God, focus horizontally on my relationship with others, focus on giving myself away as an expression of Christ's presence in me and my offering myself back to Him for the sake of others. So the statement is this: I will concentrate on the spiritual habits and disciplines that Jesus practiced so I can truly be more like Him in my daily life. I'll make connecting with God daily through prayer and Bible engagement, growing with others in community, and serving with others through the use of my talents, time, and tithe, a top priority in my life. So it's a simple little statement that simply talks about our spiritual commitment to concentrate on those things, the spiritual habits and disciplines that Jesus practiced. So this week we will dig into fasting, and I want us to think about fasting as one of the ways in which we cultivate spiritual training. So all of discipleship really is about this training myself versus just trying for myself. I'm training myself to be more like Jesus. Lots of scriptures about that. If you want some passages to look at on your own, look at 1 Timothy 4, 7 and 8. You can look at Hebrews 5, 13 and 14. Matthew 11, 28 through 30. All those are about this idea of pursuing Jesus, following Jesus in order to be like him. But particularly this idea of being a disciple. Mathetes is the Greek word, and we get a couple of words from that. We get our word disciple from mathetes. That's the literal translation. But we also, from that root word, we also get our word discipline. Disciple, discipline. So a disciple is, if I'm a learner or pupil or a student, I'm not going to be a very good one if I'm not disciplined. If I'm not disciplined in whatever it is that I'm seeking to be a disciple of, or whoever I'm trying to be a disciple of, I'm not going to get very far, very fast if I don't have discipline. So here's what Richard Foster, probably someone who's impacted me more than anyone else concerning just the notion of fasting, who probably wrote the first most classic book on spiritual practices, which is called Celebration of the Disciplines. I think probably back in the 70s. Richard Foster says that a disciplined person is one who can do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. A disciplined person is one who can do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. Think about that. Can do what needs to be done. So whatever that is, a disciplined athlete, a basketball player, can put the ball in the hoop. Now I can do that, and I can do it if I'm close and no one's guarding me, and I'm focused. I can do it, maybe 50% of the time. But put some pressure around me and put a game in motion and get my heart beating fast and running back and forth. And now it'd be pretty hard for me to get that ball in that hoop when it needs to be done. Why? Because I've never been very disciplined at basketball. I've, played around a little bit on the side here and there a few times in my life. I'm not a disciplined basketball player. So someone who is disciplined can do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. So spiritually speaking, whenever we discipline ourselves, we're able to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. Fasting is going to be one of those things that's going to empower us, because we're going to learn that fasting equips us to say no to our flesh, no to our desires, most of which can be okay and can even be good, because fasting is almost always taking something that is a normal good and learning to say no to it for something better. Fasting equips us to say no to what is good in order to say yes to what is better. This week, as we dig into that, please just take some time and say, Lord, how can I step into this notion of saying no to whether it's food or media or my phone or even people, or noise, whatever I might say no to something that can have good, but Lord, that I might be more disciplined to say yes to what is better. Lord Jesus, that is unequivocally you. You, our relationship with you. So we give ourselves to this learning. Equip us this week as we learn to say no to good things, so we can say yes to what is better.